It's okay to get along with people you disagree with. In fact, it's critical that we all try to put ourselves in other people's shoes, because I believe that we all have the same hopes, desires. We're all inspired by the same kinds of things. We want to love and be loved.
That's the one and only Russell Simmons, and this is the Rich Roll Podcast.
The Rich Roll Podcast.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing? My name is Rich Roll. I am your host. Welcome to the Rich Roll Podcast, the show where each week I sit down with thought leaders, paradigm-breaking minds and personalities across all categories of health, wellness, diet, nutrition, fitness, science, entrepreneurship, mindfulness, meditation, spirituality, and the like. And the idea behind all of this is to help all of us, myself included, unlock and unleash our best, most authentic selves. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I appreciate everybody who is sharing the show with their friends and on social media. And of course, massive shout out for everybody out there who is making a habit of using the Amazon banner ad at richroll.com for all your Amazon purchases. It really does help us out a lot. The banner is right there at richroll.com on the podcast page. Can't miss it. And it's a great way to support the show. It doesn't cost you anything extra on your Amazon purchases, but it really does put some much needed wind in our sails so that I can do what I do here. So thank you so much. Pretty pumped about this episode. I've got Yogi, meditator, hip hop pioneer, and entrepreneur extraordinaire Russell Simmons coming at you in a couple few to talk about his life, his path, and his new book, The Happy Vegan. He's a super interesting cat, but first, let's pay a couple bills. Today's episode is brought to you by Pro Flowers. Look, I'm kind of a sensitive guy. I pretty much wear my heart on my sleeve, but most guys don't. For most guys, it can be really challenging to express what we feel. Well, what if there was a gift that said it for you? Imagine a gift that was thoughtful, easy, that you know she's going to appreciate, and that sends your message perfectly, all in one. Well, that's the goal, right? Especially when it comes to Valentine's Day. Look, I'll be frank. I am like the absolute worst when it comes to gifts. I'm really good at expressing my emotions, but for whatever reason, I just have this like mental block when it comes to gifts. I never know what to get people, and I pretty much always leave it to the absolute last minute, and then I have to scramble around like this insane person. Well, don't be like me, especially when it comes to Valentine's Day. But if you are like me, I got good news. Pro Flowers are the flower pros that make Valentine's Day easy, and you can trust Pro Flowers to get this year done right. Pro Flowers is offering my listeners 1 dozen assorted roses, plus a free glass vase for just $19.99. That's a really good deal. Or you can really do it right and double the roses for just $9.99 more. Go to proflowers.com and use my code ROLL. Pro Flowers is quick, it's easy, and delivery for Valentine's Day is guaranteed. Pro Flowers are guaranteed to last 7 days or your money back, and that just makes it a no-brainer. You can't beat the price and the convenience. Pro Flowers takes care of the details. You get the glory. So regardless of what you're trying to say, Pro Flowers has everything you need, from beautiful, fresh flowers to add-ons to make it extra special to send the perfect message on Valentine's Day. Here's the only way to get this amazing Valentine's Day deal. Go to proflowers.com, click on the blue microphone in the top right corner, and type in ROLL, R-O-L-L. That's proflowers.com. Click on the microphone and type in my code ROLL. Order today. This deal expires Friday at midnight, so do it now. Today's episode is also brought to you by MeUndies. So these guys came to me interested in sponsoring the show, and at first I was like, really? Underwear? I'm not so sure about whether this is a good fit for what I do. It's kind of hard to get excited about underwear, but I got to tell you, as somebody who has been wearing underwear for my whole 49 years on planet Earth, this is the most crazy, comfortable underwear ever. It's made of something called micromodal fabric. Not sure exactly what that is, but I can tell you that it is twice as soft as cotton. And they don't just feel great, they look great too. MeUndies comes in tons of cool prints and styles, and new designs come out every month. You don't want to miss February's limited edition design from the legendary artist Keith Haring, one of my favorite artists. This retro design is inspired by love, making it the perfect Valentine's Day gift. Grab yourself a pair and celebrate the holiday sporting matching underwear with your sweetheart. And MeUndies has a keep it for free guarantee. If you don't fall in love with your first pair, you can keep them and you get your money back No questions asked. It's a no-brainer. With styles for men and women, treat yourself and your boo to a matching pair of MeUndies, the world's most comfortable underwear. It also makes for a fun, unique, unpredictable Valentine's Day gift that looks great and feels great. This year, win Valentine's Day. Head to MeUndies.com/roll now to get free shipping and 20% off your first order. Don't wait till the last minute. Get a matching pair of this month's limited edition print while you still can and get 20% off your first order at MeUndies.com/roll. That's MeUndies.com/roll, ROLL, for free shipping and 20% off your first order of the world's most comfortable underwear. All right, everybody, I got to tell you guys up front, right before we get into the interview, that this is perhaps my most unique conversation to date for a wide variety of reasons, which I'm going to get into in a second. It's with the impresario of hip-hop, the vegan entrepreneur, yogi, and meditator himself, Russell Simmons. This guy is a straight-up pop culture icon. Most people are familiar with Russell, his story, his entrepreneurship. But in case his name is brand new to you, I thought we could do a brief bio and break it wide open. In 1984, Russell co-founded Def Jam Recordings with Rick Rubin, and he quickly rose to prominence as this guiding force in the quickly growing cultural revolution that became hip-hop. And he did it by championing all its breakout stars. Def Jam became the label, signing all the movement's forerunners, acts like LL Cool J, Public Enemy, the Beastie Boys, and of course Run DMC. But Def Jam was just Russell's first step in empire building. Before selling Def Jam to Universal Music Group in 1999 for $100 million, he formed Rush Communications, and he began branching out into a wide variety of interests, everything from management to apparel, film and television projects like the Nutty Professor and Krush Groove, and his current holdings include a vast array of interests and philanthropic efforts, including All Def Digital, Argyleculture, RushCard, Global Grind, and even a yoga studio play in development called Tantris. And all of this is fascinating, of course, but what most interests me about Russell is his personal journey, how discovering yoga and meditation ultimately led to his embrace of veganism, and how all of this has tremendously influenced his life, his business, and of course his advocacy. And I think it's really rare to find an entrepreneur, a pop culture icon of his stature, who is so open, honest, very human, outspoken, and really devoted to raising consciousness around the issues of the day, issues like the horrors of animal agriculture, the declining state of human health, particularly in African American and lower socio-economic demographics, and the disastrous state of our planet's environmental health. And today we unpack all of it, everything from the impact of yoga and meditation on the evolution of his personal consciousness, this karmic debt accrued by virtue of our cultural addiction to animal products, the ecological havoc and deleterious health implications of the standard American diet, the responsibility he feels to be a change agent, and of course, it's all about his new book, The Happy Vegan, which is this really easy to digest primer on all of the aforementioned issues with basic, comprehensible, and budget-conscious solutions for improving personal and planetary health through simple diet and lifestyle alterations. I will say this. I usually try to architect the general direction of my conversations. I have this idea of where I want to start and where I want to go with my guests. This is not one of those conversations. Again, probably my most unique podcast, primarily because I don't really think I was ever in control of this conversation. I was definitely not in command here. I'm not quite sure about how this one is going to land. There was a little chaos here. We did the interview in his office. The door was open. People were coming and going. And when it was all said and done and the dust settled, I wasn't quite sure what exactly had transpired. And I suppose it goes with the territory when you interview someone this busy, someone with this level of charisma. It's part of the vibe that makes Russell Russell. And I loved every minute of it. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it as well. Lastly, before we get into the interview, I've got a special guest coming on right after Russell for a short segment. So please stick around for that. I promise you guys it is worth it. And a final note, this episode is chock-a-block with expletives. And generally, I keep things clean and family-friendly here. But it's more important to me to be real, to be authentic, and of course allow my guests to be who they really are. And Russell's just a guy who rolls thick and deep with the language. It's just who he is. And to edit it out or to bleep it out, I think would just hit a false note. So just a heads up if you're queasy about this kind of stuff or you got kids in the car or whatever. In any event, let's dig on Russell. Without further ado, enjoy my conversation with Russell Simmons. Movie project?
Yeah, some film project talking about this great script, kind of good script. I mean, good script, good idea. Depressed comedian. Everybody doesn't know, like I know, like everybody in Hollywood knows, or anybody who lives in this circle knows that the comedians are generally depressed people. Yeah. So it's a script about a guy who's, you know, is a writer, writes comedy, almost kills himself. Does kill himself. I think if I made it, he would almost kill himself. I don't like depressing endings usually. I didn't like the end of Birdman. I don't know why the fuck he had to go out the window. Do you know why he went out the window, Simone? Did you want him to die? Want him to die.
Did he die or did he fly?
I think he died. That nigga just jumped out the window and died. He never flew before. He died. That was stupid. His daughter looks up in the air. Like, come on. I think it could have been okay if he just came out of the thing and was thrilled to be alive. You know, had a little bit of a revelation. I'm always happy with the revelation that's okay to live rather than kill yourself. Not the best ending for a movie.
So you doing this outside the studio system?
Well, I read it from a studio. They gave me, they want me to produce it. We're talking about it. We'll see if we can fix it.
Right.
But anyway, I don't even know how that begins our conversation.
It's all right, man. I appreciate you taking the time. It's been quite a media blitz for you the past 2 weeks. So thanks for taking a moment with me.
Yeah, I really believe passionately in this subject, and I'm not sure if I should call this the poisoning of America or, depending on the radio show, the poisoning of Black America.
Was there a conversation about the title?
Yeah, but I call it the Happy Vegan because all my books are so happy, and I wanted people to be able to digest the ideas. I'm not an angry vegan. I like angry vegans. I'm sure that Martin Luther King was happy Elijah Muhammad called a white man a devil. That's funny. It's funny because they got Martin Luther King a certain way. They got him as such a pacifist, nice guy, but he said a lot of tough shit nobody even ever talks about. And I think he liked that there was a really more honest and not even angry. I don't think the black Muslims were angry. They were just kind of straight. They just said things that he didn't have to say, and they gave him the benefit of the anger that was brewing. I think militants sometimes are part of a process.
Well, I think you need all voices.
I'm always the bitch.
You need Malcolm X and you need Martin Luther King.
Right. I'm always the bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, right, Simone? You would say that? Simone Reyes is an animal activist. She'll lay in there.
Right. So Simone's voice is different from your voice, and there's a place for both of those in these conversations.
Yes. Well, we need Simone to throw some paint on somebody's coat. I mean, that's my friend's coat. I mean, I didn't want her to wear it, but shit like that's what she does.
Yeah, but that is the barrier, especially when you're, doing mainstream media. You're sitting down at CBS this morning. I mean, you did.
You see how angry my good friend?
Well, they accuse you of being the angry vegan when you're really coming at it from a really palatable, sort of optimistic.
I told Gail, who I love, Gail King, I love, good friend. Backstage, we'd laugh and talk and everything. I said, I'm not an angry vegan. She got on stage and said, I'm not an angry vegan, but she said it in a mean way. I told her that 50% of African-American women over 20 have heart disease. She said, I'm healthy. I said, I know you're healthy. I assume you're healthy. You're fucking Oprah's best friend, and you have all of the resources in the world, and you probably never ate anything non-organic since you heard about organic. And some of that stuff is actually organic, some of it, right? So there's that, and you probably have every, she's probably doing cryotherapy. I just did it. Fuck. Ever been in there?
No, I want to try it though.
Oh, I go every fucking day.
Yeah, somebody died recently though doing that.
Yeah, they always say that. Every time I bring up cryotherapy, they say somebody died. If you bump your head and fall out in minus 300 degrees and stay there for 10 hours, see what happens.
I think the person that died worked at the facility and did it after hours, and there was no one there to monitor
and she did the one that's only, which is where most of them are. The most that they leased out are ones that are made out of hydrogen. The one in the tank is hydrogen and oxygen, and she put her head under the smoke. You get in the one that's hydrogen, and it has this thing that lifts you up. You can only lift it up from the outside. So she's in the shit with her head in the hydrogen, inhaling the hydrogen. She fainted, and she died.
Right.
10 hours later, they found up, I guess she was frozen. If you spit on somebody it'll freeze up on their face the second it gets on them. It's minus 300 fucking degrees.
But
so you don't want to
feel
fake.
it? Like, what does it feel like when you're in the chamber?
Feels kind of invigorating, you know.
Did you do it's in Larchmont, right? Is that the one that you did?
No, the one I did is right on La Cienega.
Uh-huh.
And it's by the owners. So they have the big tank, which has hydrogen and oxygen. And it wakes you up, but it also puts you asleep. Like because for 48 hours, your body is racing back. The seconds you get in there, all the blood races to your heart. It cleanses all your organs and all this shit. Revitalizes a lot of stuff, and it gets rid of inflammation. And it's got a lot of benefits, they say. And psychosomatic asshole that I am, I believe it all. What I feel good is I feel high after, and I'm a junkie. You know, like I like high. Anything gets me high. So, you know, morning meditation is a different high from late night drinking, but I like that best, right? And then there's shifts that I meant, but they're all to get high. Put this amino acid under your tongue. Oh shit, how'd that feel? Wow, I felt that. In fact, I have Oz send me that shit. Dr. Oz Garcia, send me the amino acids he's been bragging about.
Uh-oh, you get in trouble with that.
Just put it under your tongue.
You know. But, it's cool. Tony Robbins swears by that. I think he's got his own chamber.
Yeah, his own chamber.
Yeah.
Oh, you know all about it. Yeah, Tony Robbins has his own chamber. LeBron. It's the rich people. That's why I'm not fucked up. Yeah, but a lot of people are, you know, underserved community members. And the book teaches people who don't, you know, necessarily have all the resources, how to live as a vegan lifestyle cheaply.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the biggest thing, right?
Call Adidas too. I meant that too. That's the second thing. You got to call Adidas. It's time now for them to give me a vegan line.
How do how you overcome this idea that veganism, plant-based diet is really something just for the elite or the well-healed? Like,
that's
how
what
are you going to penetrate the food deserts?
The book talks a lot about that because I know that's a challenge. I'm also going to do a vegan soul food book. I just realized it's pretty much written. So I might as well do it. And it's like, it's easy, you know. It's like a lot easier than people think. And that's what people don't realize, no one wants to promote. There's no interest in promoting how cheaply you can live a plant-based diet. And, you know, it's a small community. Mm-hmm. Lots of investment in companies like Beyond Meat, where they are studying the 40,000 plants on the planet. And the idea, and what's the other one? Hampton Creek.
Yeah, Hampton Creek. I had Ethan
Hampton
Brown
Creek got a better
Beyond
promotion, but Ethan's shit is a little bit bigger. It's actually distributed in every store. So Beyond Meat is everywhere. Mm-hmm. And you can get it, like meat substitutes, because a lot of people, they're just so used to it. They need something that, you know, it's like you need methadone to get off heroin, right? That's what Beyond Meat, the meat stuff is. But the other stuff is beyond that. It's just healthy stuff that is good fuel. It doesn't give you cancer or diabetes or heart disease, which is what the animal product is doing to a great majority of Americans. Killing more people than any lobbyist. No lobbyist is fucking with the American people. Not even close. ISIS is not even in the running of a threat to America.
No, we should talk about the FDA instead.
FDA is the worst motherfuckers, dumb niggas. Murderers.
Well, there's this idea that
they let it happen.
They're looking out for our best interest, but
people
it can be
assume
from
that.
The truth.
Yeah, that's the thing. They assume people always trust in government. You know, I mean, our country, especially, you know, they're civilized society, they do civilized things, and then they abuse 100 billion animals per year. Mm-hmm. You know, and then they say dominion over the animals.
Yeah, what are the subsidy numbers? It's like 2-3 billion or something like that.
No, billion, 38 billion money,
billion.
$38 billion of American taxpayers' money going to making what they call affordable food, and it's meat and dairy. And the vegetable industry gets 17 million. That's according to PETA.
Right.
They're going to sue the shit out of me. I know they're coming after me, these fuckers.
Yeah, are you concerned about that with this media blitz?
I'm not that rich, man. I don't really can't afford to battle these niggas like that. I'm going to need help from the animal rights community. Mm-hmm. You fuckers better help me, because I know I'm saying shit and it's traveling. I'm surprised I got in all these shows. I actually thought they would say my sponsors won't let me have you talk that kind of stuff on my...
Yeah, it is interesting. Well, I feel like they always have to temper it. You know, they'll let you say what you want to say, but then afterwards they'll be like, well, but you should be careful about this or that. I mean, so yeah,
vegetables
aside,
suck too? That's
or just, well, I still like a little meat or whatever. There's always like an exit door, right?
I don't think she was doing it for the sponsors. She was just defending herself.
What was O'Reilly like?
I knew O'Reilly this time. I did O'Reilly on the last book when he went into that Beyonce shit. And went in my got him. He actually believed in meditation. It was like I've been on. I went to visit O'Reilly when I was at Fox. I was on Fox News, on a bunch of Fox shows. I went up to his office, I get along with everybody. So O'Reilly, he's my man. I like his daughter. His daughter's so sweet. She's a progressive. She doesn't believe a word he says. She's just like me, and she's only 14. And she's brilliant, and he's very lucky to have her, and I'm glad that she doesn't adopt any of his views. I don't think she'll grow up saying, oh, now suddenly I don't like people, or now suddenly I'm angry too. I don't think that'll happen. And he's, to his credit, he says, yeah, my daughter's a liberal. We're sitting together at the table. He's a smart conservative. Like, there's such a thing. My friend Glenn Freeman
he's an
might not
entertainer.
agree.
He's a showman, and he's
no, he believes his shit.
Does
That's
he?
the thing.
On the level that he talks on air?
Fuck yeah, he believes it. So you niggas take drugs, go to jail. He believes everything he says. What about the crack? He believes his stuff. That's why he's good at talking about it. Hannity believes his stuff, but he's stupid, so it's different. Or I shouldn't say that. He's not as smart as O'Reilly, who seems to have been more thoughtful. There's a black guy on Fox. I can't believe this nigga. He told me that there's no global warming. I was like, did you forget? Didn't get the memo? Republicans stopped saying that you don't have to say that anymore because now you're starting to look dumb. He said, no man-made global warming. And I looked at him. He's a black guy. I remember meeting him at Occupy Wall Street. And everybody, he was interviewing people, and everybody was mad at him just because of the tone he took. And he said, you're black. Like, don't you, like black people have one thing that makes them stick together. Jews have Israel. Blacks have poverty. Rich black people don't give a fuck. They're Democrat. They hope that someone like Bernie Sanders will come along. They're happy to pay a little extra tax. They're happy to shift the paradigm. They're okay with it. They got too many broke cousins, I guess, not to be. And just like Jews, for the most part, have Israel in common. They don't like each other for a lot of reasons. You think of Reform Orthodox and Orthodox and Hasidic and Syrian Jews. And I know the whole communities, and they don't really, don't trust that Israeli bastard. One guy will say, right, because they're separate but equal, right, just like Latinos. And blacks have separation on many issues as well, but not on political choices, because no matter how rich you are, you're still sucked in by your family, and no matter how selfish you think you are, that you'll be an asshole if you don't support anybody who supports the underserved communities.
Interesting. So I feel like you are, progressing through this evolution of consciousness that began with, getting sober at 30, finding yoga, then finding meditation, and then becoming a vegan. And it's kind of, I followed a very similar track. I got out of rehab when I was 31. I found myself in yoga. This was back in, quick little story.
Only girls, right? You and the girls.
Well, here was the thing. I got out of rehab, and I'm like, I need new friends. I just need to change my community, and I need to raise the vibration of the people that I'm hanging out with. I find myself in Steve Ross's yoga class.
You too?
This was like 98. 99.
How about
and there
that?
was Russell every night, and I became really good friends with Steve. I met my wife in that class, and that became
a lot
my
of
community.
Wives in that class.
Yeah. Well, originally I was like, of all the yoga classes in LA, I was going to Steve's because there were so many beautiful women in this class.
You too?
Yeah. It was insane at that time.
Similar path. I went to Steve Ross's class just for the women. I didn't see you that much because mostly it was just girls and me.
You were looking at
and
the
a couple
girls
gay
the whole
guys.
Time. But it's funny because I remember
there were no straight men in yoga. You remember that?
I know.
Wasn't that amazing?
It was you and Dennis Quaid would go from time to time.
Yeah, he would go.
I remember that, but like Meg Ryan was going. It was crazy.
Well, look, Meg Ryan. Look at all the Hollywood actresses. It was
I know.
typical of what they make jokes about in Hollywood because Steve Ross. It's like he told me the last problem Lord Buddha had was like pussy, indiscriminate pussy too. Like
that's a big problem with the gurus.
Yeah, but he said that was Lord Buddha's last problem.
Yeah.
Of course, the Tantris, as you remember in Siddhartha.
And I asked my wife this morning when I was leaving. I said, is there anything you want me to ask Russell that's not an obvious thing? And she said, oh yeah, just. She was remembering a time after one of Steve's classes, going down the little elevator in that little shopping center. I
tried to hit on her?
And you were, I don't know,
Go ahead.
Maybe, but you were tripping out at the time because you had some business deal that was going left on you, and you were like, I don't know if I could keep doing all this yoga and meditation. I got to keep my eye on the ball with my business. If I keep doing all this stuff, I'm going to lose all my money.
That was something that Bobby Schreiber always said. Bobby Schreiber always says that. I said my first response to yoga, if I keep doing all this shit, I'm going to lose all my money, because those seconds of presence, I used to think anxiety drove me. And I know stillness drives me faster. Anxiety has no place in the workplace and no place in service. We're here to be present, awake, and smile in difficult poses, and do our job. Our dharma is not served by being anxious and not thoughtful. You need to be thoughtful and awake. So yoga and meditation and these tools you have are meant to, as you know, the Yoga Sutras, the second sutra is about yoga or Christ consciousness or nirvana or samadhi or taqwa for Muslims or whatever you call God consciousness is a state of needing nothing, or the end of the fluctuations of the mind stuff, the noise in the mind is yoga, or those things I mentioned, or Christ consciousness, etc. So we want to quiet our mind. And then once that's done, we become so much more effective. So the first chakra first, the Muladhara chakra first, because you can't serve the world unless you take care of yourself, Simone. Simone. Because you're always out saving animals.
Why are you calling her
catching
out
a
like
cold.
that?
Because she be just doing shit like without taking care of herself.
Right. I mean, the translation
She's always
of that
saving
is, yeah,
animals, and you can't save animals if you're sick.
You can't help others unless you tend to yourself first. Like, what attracted you to this yogi path?
It's not selfish
in the
to take care of yourself first. If you're selfless, the blind dog comes first. All right, well, the blind dog's going to outlive you. Who's going to fucking take care of the blind dog?
I know. For the listeners, Simone Reyes is sitting right over here. Who you've been Russell's assistant for a long time, right?
Assistant, I think she
executive. Like, how do you?
Right.
What I don't know what you would call, how you
she's
define
my
the
boss,
relationship.
now.
All right.
She's a film and television executive, and she, that's what she does, film and TV.
But
she was
very
my assistant
avid
for a couple
animal
years,
activist, right? Of course. So, and she's sitting there with
she's
Yoda.
She's like Malcolm X.
Yoda, the blind dog. Right.
Yeah, she takes care of, except she spends time taking care of a blind dog. I personally couldn't give a fuck about a blind dog. But, I mean, I really don't care about animals as individuals. I don't understand how people could, walk their dog with a fur coat. But at the same time, I don't understand how we can worry about one animal, saving the life of one animal. Of course, I do get, and it's in Scripture, and certainly in Satchidananda's translation of Yoga Sutras, the story about the boy throwing the starfish back in. You know this story? He's walking down the beach, throwing starfish back in the water. Thousands of them scattered across the floor of on the sand by the ocean. And the guy says, "You can't. Why are you trying to save these starfish? You can't save them." He said, and he threw the one in the water. He said, "Not that one. I did save that one." So that's the one at a time. And one at a time always seemed not fruitless, but not as fruitful as making people aware of the massive suffering. But I think they need to identify to really help. So it's kind of a little two-edged sword. But like the 200 horses, they say, oh, they did a good deal. I said, I don't give a fuck if you save 70 of the 210 horses. I don't want kids to see the horses, Mayor de Blasio, at all. Because then they see our exploitation, our nasty habits, our lack of concern for life. So it doesn't matter if there's less horses. I couldn't give a fuck about the 70 horses. And when I said it was a Holocaust, they got all mad, Abe Foxman. I said the Holocaust was the 100 billion animals. 10 billion in America alone birthed into a horrible life of suffering through rape and every other factory practice, just to destroy the planet and poison its inhabitants. That to me is the big thing. And not saving one. The cow that jumped off the truck that ran away, and most cows couldn't run. It was amazing. Ran around through Queens. Everybody chased it. Finally caught the cow, put it in an animal reserve. People visit the cow.
Yeah, well, it's like...
But what about the other cow in the fucking truck?
Right.
I mean, it's like...
I mean,
let's have a steak after we see the cow.
I talked to Gene Bauer about this on the podcast a couple of times because, of course, at Farm Sanctuary, he's rescuing these farmed animals, right? And he can't rescue all of them, but it's almost like this symbolic act of just being in this place of being of service to these animals in whatever way that you can. So it goes back to that starfish analogy.
Who do have high intention and do good work. I know that that's it. I know they say the world is in perfect order. There's suffering. There's this, there's that, and the other, and you have to live in it and be a servant of it, and that's the spiritual path. I break from that path in some ways, but then again, I think it's still the same thing. Do the best you can with what you have. What I have is a voice that can talk about the 100 billion animals. Not the dolphins. I talk about the dolphins. Y'all want to talk about dolphins? Let's talk about it. It's fucking horrible. Y'all want to talk about the 2 hippopotamuses that got their head cut off or whatever, they take their tusks? Yeah, talk about it. We don't want to extinct species, but it's not about each species, but it's about each life. It's each life that matters. Rhinos, whatever. I'm saying I like that Shannon Elizabeth went to save some rhinos. I like that people are saving one or two animals. But the massive slaughter is the worst karmic disaster in the history of the world. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is a focus that, without the kind of compassion that saves one animal, then I guess we won't ever, save them all or change the way that we birth them, treat them.
How do you think that you can most effectively get mainstream culture to remove this blind spot and get to actually, understand what is going on a fundamental kind of legislative, regulatory, and commercial level with respect to how we're raising animals for food, because it's systemic. Like, we can all go vegan, and certainly that is the most powerful thing that we can do as an individual on an individual basis to correct this horrific wrong.
I mean, do things like the Happy Vegan.
Right.
My daughter
so you read this
my
book
books are very simple. They're just so simple. She laughs at them. My last book, she was 11. She read it about meditation, said it was remedial at best. This book is no more highbrow than that. It's simple. Mm-hmm. You can read it. I relied heavily on the damage that the factory farming industry is doing. It's an indictment of the factory farming industry in America, and it's a threat to your personal well-being. Aside from it talking about the karma, and aside from it talking about the destruction of the planet, all those things that are very real reasons to go vegan, most people don't want heart disease. And if you're 20 years old or over and you're an African-American woman, it seems like you're 50% likely to have some kind of heart disease. That should be enough for some people. They're afraid for their life. They're disconnected from the suffering. They don't believe the earth is going to stop spinning. It won't, but people won't be on it, but that's a different subject. They don't believe in those things. That doesn't touch them. But going to the doctor and getting a bunch of new pills and getting really sick is what touches them.
Right.
So the book relies a lot on that as a way to transform the lives of the people who read it.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before the podcast. I mean, I read the book the other day. It's a very easy read, and it's very extremely digestible, right? So anybody could pick this book up, read it, pretty quickly, and completely understand where you're coming from, and also walk away with, really practical tools and advice for how to make those changes. I don't know if you know this, but in the back where you have a list of cookbooks, you listed our cookbook, so I have you to thank for that. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. But anyway, yeah, I think it has the potential and the power to really impact a lot of people, and for that, I'm grateful that you've written the book, and my hope is that millions and millions of people read it. But as someone who kind of navigates the highest upper echelons of culture and business, when you're rubbing elbows with policymakers and CEOs, et cetera, it seems like, the book is an effort from the bottom down to raise that awareness and help people make that change. But how do we approach the problem from the top down?
Well,
with the people that are really, responsible for policy.
You get people like Bernie Sanders, and they say things. Everybody says, oh, yeah, well, what good is having them as president? They'll never get the shit done. Everybody should have health care. Everybody should have a 2-year education for free. Everybody should, we should, raise the minimum wage dramatically. We should force people to have jobs on shore. We should tax corporations at a reasonable rate. We should not let the 0.1% get all the money. We should have some distributed amongst the poor. These ideas. We should stop global warming, stop allowing them to waste our resources on building out these cows and other animals. But when you have leaders who have big voices like a president who says things, whether the lobbyists have every senator or congressman in their pocket or not, there comes a time when a Republican congressman stops saying there's no man-made global warming. There comes a time when the people are educated on one subject or another, so much so that you can't say that shit anymore. Said, you back away from the lobbyists. Like, I'm not fucking with you. What you're telling me to say is going to ruin my career. Your money can't even get me in office if I repeat what you're messaging. NRA convinced America they need guns. It's different. They got a little platform. Convince people that the president's trying to take their guns away. They got a good little campaign going. People believe this shit. You see the president, but they're not wrong when they say the president wants to take guns. I thought it was so funny. He says, Michelle and I were riding, and Michelle said, I lived all the way out here in the woods somewhere. I lived by myself. I think I'd want a shotgun. He didn't say, yes, honey, that's a good idea. He just didn't say anything. And what he really would like is to take everybody's assault weapon first. And then their rifle, and their pistol. He would like it. Then, all right, you're right when you say the president would like to take all your guns. He wouldn't be wrong. He'd be like every other country that has good sense. But they have been convinced, and he's not going to be able to do it. Just all he did was try to enforce what laws we do have. And they're crying about it, bitch ass. It's unbelievable that they're so powerful. Lobbies run this country. We have to get rid of Citizens United. Two candidates, both outsiders, of saying how bad Citizens United is. One who used to be my friend has said one of the most horrific things I can't imagine. I hope he wins the nomination. It's Trump. He said the best thing on stage, one good thing. I always watch it, entertaining as shit, until he's president. It's really, but he said, he's standing in the middle, he says, money corrupts good people. He looked around the podium and all of the candidates looked like little girls with mini skirts that should have longer skirts on. And all looked like whores. And I was sad, but it was true. He said, but I was glad that someone said it, and it was funny that Trump was the one to say it. Bernie Sanders, of course, exudes that freedom, gets his money from underserved community members, stands up for them, and tells the truth in regards to the lobby in some of the subjects that we care about.
Right. I mean, I think the first step is we have to eradicate, if not seriously change, campaign finance. Because without that, then that changes the landscape with lobbying and everything.
This is a funny story. I along with Dennis Kucinich, wrote a constitutional amendment that we introduced that was ratified by Occupy. It was the only thing Occupy Wall Street ever all agreed on. And then we took it, and I spoke at the Progressive Caucus. They said, great idea. Nancy Pelosi was like, this is fantastic. Passed around an amendment, written really nicely, really simply, and legal issues around campaign finance regarding public funding. It had to be written in such a way that was, So it was done, and all Democrats said, yeah, I want to do it. None of them really wanted to. Nobody wants a fair shot. I'm already a congressman. Fuck, I'm going to give a fair shot away. I've been in Congress 22 years. You think I want my competitor to gain as much finance as I do? Everyone my guarantee shoe-in shit.
Right.
So nobody wants that. Not even Democrats, no Republicans, nobody.
They want it theoretically, but they don't want it to impact their personal trajectory.
Yeah, everybody wants it theoretically. Everybody wants people to have a fair chance, and ideas to win, and the people to give the ideas the fuel that they need to actually get executed.
So, as somebody who, I'm trying to encapsulate your life and think about the evolution of how you went from, basically, a kid who's doing a lot of drugs to all this success and kind of where you're at now. And I kind of analogize it to, taking the red pill in the Matrix, when you start to wake up and you raise your consciousness and you start to become more and more aware of how all of these systems function, and your responsibility as somebody who is a leader and a public figure to speak to these issues.
I think a lot of in my community, if I really call, I have lots of communities, but I mean the hip hop community. A lot of the guys are big voices, and the next thing you know, they're realize that their voice is so valuable, and by the time their star has diminished and their voice doesn't shine as bright. So therefore now they can't make a difference. All they can do now is be one of the people marching, when before they could organize the march just by calling for it. People have 20, 30, 40 million Facebook followers. People have 25 million Instagram followers. It's unbelievable what they could do. Every so often you get one of them to Instagram something out or tweet something out that matters, and it affects change. So I'm older and I'm still breathing, and I'm still, in some cases, my shit travels. So I'm lucky. But you learn when you're older. They all learn something when they're older. There's more than the money they made. Their purpose is higher than the music, the money, the art they exuded. Because now their purpose has enhanced their ability to execute on everyone's purpose is enhanced. Everyone is here as a servant. Everyone else, everything breathes because something else breathed before it. Every tree, every bumblebee, everything. It's all connected. If God were the ocean, we'd be cups of God. We are all servants of this one big living, breathing entity. You realize that more and more as you become older, for the most part. You can't help it. Eventually realize it. But maybe some people say over lifetimes. Like say if God were a straight line, God or goodness, you walk this straight line. Yogis refer to choiceless awareness, thy will. Like there's thorns on either side, and you're walking. You get out of line, you scrape the fuck out your arm. The other side, scrape the fuck out your arm. You eventually just walk straight. But it doesn't always happen instantly. So you get out of line and shit feels good, and you float and then scrape your arm. You always scrape your arm. And then eventually you learn to walk in order. This is what life, they say that's life's struggle or purpose, is to evolve, to move you towards this service space where you work with all 7 chakras, including taking care of the self, without feeling selfish. And your purpose is what's in your Sahasrara, the greatest chakra, this service chakra. But it's because you've taken care of all the other 6. And it's the idea of non-harming becomes a natural first instinct. Not lying, not stealing. It's the brahmacharya, control of all these. So the first of the 8 parts of yoga, the second, the third, for all in order, all together, all of these scriptural recipes, the science of religion, the sciences of the same one God told by many prophets over and over again in different languages, in different colors. You find out these things are true as you move more and more. So I don't know how the fuck the Pope can tell you a woman can't preach. He's not quite sure about, not judging, but not sure about gays. But he doesn't know what dominion over the animals is. He hasn't said shit about the animals. How the fuck, did you not read the Bible? Dominion over the animals.
I feel like dominion over the animals is completely misconstrued and misunderstood.
By them, if they say it's okay to...
Well, dominion, I mean, what is that? What's the definition of that word? What does that mean? I mean, for me, I read that as a responsibility to tend and take care of.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't mean to dominate in the sense of destroy.
No, it doesn't mean that at all. And no one can really actually make a case for that. All they can do is brush over it, act like it didn't happen, like never heard it. And that's what they're doing. They're being quiet on the issue because it's something that just read it quickly and forget about it. And it kind of plays into just take advantage. But you don't want to say it because it sounds stupid to say it. Right. You know it's better than that. You know better than that. So it's an interesting discussion how religious people can have right in their scripture one thing and then do something totally different. It's a reality we have in all religions. I was thinking the Pope, such an enlightened person, for the most part, would say that.
What was going on with you that attracted you to this yogi path in the beginning? What brought you into this?
I told you the same reason you went. Girls. Just us and girls, full class.
That's where it starts.
60 girls. Loud rap music, Steve Ross, right? Played Fuck the Police when we were going to yoga. We loved it, right? That's how we got started. It's amazing we have that same.
It's a landing pad. It's like
but then I started going to teachers where they taught Yoga Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. You had to study the textbook of yoga psychology. If you were there, you were vegan. I mean, it was like this real hardcore yoga place. And my gurus helped me.
Jiva Mukti.
Yes. My gurus helped me to evolve more by reminding me of what's the truth. That's in yogic scriptures as well.
Who were those gurus?
Sharon and David at Jiva Mukti. Yeah. So they really removers of darkness, right? Guru, the meaning of guru. So they were great for that. And then I decided I liked hot vinyasa. So now I'm always in these places that are like gyms sometimes. They're just hot. Like Steve's class, but gets hot anyway, but not at 105 degrees. So I go to those classes all the time. I'm building a yoga studio.
Yeah, I read about that. It's called Tantris?
Tantris.
Tantris. Yeah, where's that going to be?
It's going to be at the entrance of the Soho House.
Oh, wow.
You know, if I taught
cool.
Oprah through Bob Roth to meditate, and if I taught Ellen DeGeneres through Bob Roth to meditate, if I pushed these people with big mouths to meditate, they pushed millions. Mm-hmm. And that is an amazing, that's why I say about the big picture. So imagine if I have my Tantris, and it's there, the entrance where Sotheby's is, 9200 Sunset, and that's Tantris. And that's where we're going to build out. It's going to look like a temple.
Is that going to be on which floor is that going to?
It's going to be on the ground floor where all the clothes and the juice bar, green juice bar. And I'm even going to have a dry bar. Because I mean, now that I have a girlfriend, it's probably fruitless, but I used to take girls to yoga all the time, and they would say, no, I can't go because my hair be fucked up. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm going to put a dry bar. How many girls can't go to hot yoga? You have a girlfriend, but if you didn't, and you invited a girl, I don't know, my hair. A dry bar is the answer. So I'm going to have a dry bar, a juice bar, clothing, and you go upstairs, there'll be 3 hot rooms. Probably 2 hot rooms and 1 room that can be hot. Mm-hmm. In case I want to have.
So you can go to yoga, you can get your blow dry, and then go up to Soho House afterwards.
Yeah, you could, if you're a member. How exclusive they are. But I went, and I feel like it'll be a school of yogic science, or a center for yogic science. And I want to play Krishna Das and Kanye West. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give people, and I always say, Steve, why don't you fucking teach? Or our first teacher, why don't you teach? You're deeply studied. You're a raw foodist for 40 years. Why don't you say, not preachy, just say, share with people something about the path. What are the 8 parts of yoga? It's a science for happiness. Why can't you share that? People are happy in his class without him saying nothing.
Right, and I feel like it's interesting because he seems to take a lot of heat for being sort of this rock and roll yoga where he doesn't really teach at all. And what most people don't realize that he is one of the most practiced yogis that I've ever met. The way that guy lives his lifestyle is like true blue, and he is an incredible font
Eckhart Tolle lived in this nigga's backyard.
I went and heard Eckhart Tolle speak before he blew up and was on Oprah. Steve had him come and talk at Maha, and there were like 20 people there. No one was there before anybody knew.
He gave me the book, and I gave it to Oprah.
So
how about that?
Oh, you were the guy. So
I gave the book to Oprah.
That's interesting.
She tried to say that Goldie Hawn gave it to her. I was like, I know. And Oprah is like my girl. She actually let me talk about it last time we were on a show. I said, a blonde woman didn't give you the book. I know it's your audience, but I gave you a book, a hip-hop nigga. I didn't say nigga because Oprah. But a hip-hop guy gave you that book. She said, I don't know. Goldie Hawn gave it to me. Helen Hunt was always there, right?
Right, that's right.
But in all fairness, all the people she said gave it to her as well all went to Steve's class too. So
interesting.
But I think I gave it to her first because she looked totally. When I gave it to her, me, her, and Gail having lunch, having early dinner at Cipriani's, and I gave her The Power of Now. And the next thing I know, she was blowing him up. So maybe she got it from more than one person. I gave it to her first. Mm-hmm. I tell her that all the time. I love that. And we laugh about it.
Why do you think that Steve is reluctant to impart his knowledge, though?
Because there are different roles for different people, maybe. Maybe Steve finds it to be preachy. Mm-hmm. But I see people in the class, although they're not stuck, they've been going to the class for 20 years. They have not even read the Yoga Sutras. They've never considered that this idea of smile and breathe in every pose, right? This idea of the physical asana is just to gain an asana, a seat in life. To be comfortable in your seat and operate from that space is yoga's goal. So to say it now and then in different ways is okay to me, but not to him. So I see people evolve because Steve introduced them to yoga, many, many, many people. But in terms of their interest in the knowledge about yoga or about yogic science, but I see people who just go to this class, it's a workout, they do it regularly, they might as well go to Pilates.
Right. I feel like on some level, though, it's also kind of an evolved perspective that he has, because he understands that if that seed gets planted, that you'll go on your own journey with it, like you have, like I have.
He gave me a copy of the Yoga Sutras.
Right.
First.
So if you solicit that, he will give it to you. But if you're like, is my leg in the right place in this position? He'll just say, you're fine. Because he understands, like he's past that. He's only going to
adjust you if you're a girl.
That's true,
never put his hand on me. I don't want his hands on me, but he
know.
has never adjusted me, ever. He adjusts 800 girls per class, has never touched me in 22 years.
Right. So let's talk about meditation for a little bit. This is something you've been doing.
I'm not looking to get touched in case
years.
Steve listened.
All right.
I think it's funny.
I don't know
if
Steve's listening to, but Steve, we love you.
Can we get some green juice? That shit must be poison from the last time I was here, right?
No, I just bought it this morning.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I want one. Okay.
As somebody who's been, how long have you been meditating? 30 years?
No.
How long have you been doing
20
this?
years.
20 years. All right.
20 years. I've been meditating probably 18 years.
Right. And if you had to encapsulate the benefits of meditation in your life, like how would you articulate that?
My name is Rush. I like my quiet time every day. Love it. Love it. It's self-reflection. It's personal. You get a chance to watch your life. If you were to be in moving meditation at all times, or if you were to find a second of pure stillness in meditation, it's such an enlightening thing. A joke, what happens? Everything goes away but the giggle if you get the future and the past. Mm-hmm. Meditation is to get hundreds of thoughts out of your mind, slow them down to 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever it is, or maybe one thought, your mantra. This idea of quieting the mind or rebooting the mind has so many benefits, it's unbelievable. It's like now, it's not just, the Buddhists and scriptures, and it's not just be still and know, it's not just a bunch of rigmarole from all the prophets all the time. It's not just that crap. It's Science Journal. It backs up what they've been doing for thousands of years. It changes the way the brain functions. It grows the gray matter in the brain. It connects the left and the right side of the brain. And it, and that leads to better immune system, better memory, better, able to, function and live longer. And it does all these things for you. Mm-hmm. So now you know through science that what they've been promising you is good is really good. So that's like, how could you not want to do that?
Right. And I feel like meditation is having a big moment right now. Like it's really kind of burst onto the mainstream because of all these scientific studies that are coming up with all of this information that you just spoke to. And I think that people intellectually understand all of this, and yet they can't get over that hump, or they just say, I'm just too busy. Like I get it, but it's just never going to happen. And
the Maharishi had a great quote. Very few
people are as busy as you are. So
I think I do more and I do less. I meditate every single day. I don't give a fuck if I was negotiating between Putin and Obama, some great deal that had to get done, and I was the mediator. If my last class of yoga today was going to close, I like to be with people. I like to do it. If that class wasn't going to happen because I'm stuck with these two niggas, I would leave them and say, y'all fix it yourself. I would not miss my yoga class at any time, and I would not miss my morning meditation. So first chakra first, and I think I'm a better servant because of it, and I don't make exceptions if I can help it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been on planes.
Priority.
It's stuck on planes and missed yoga. It's happened, but not possible. If it's possible to get there in any city, no matter where I travel, I find yoga. Mm-hmm. And no matter where I travel, I sit in a space. I don't think you need to go anywhere to meditate. I don't need to go to an ashram. I sit in my bed. I sit up straight. I meditate. But the point I make is that I don't miss taking care of myself, and those two things are part of my, taking care of myself.
And what does a meditation protocol for you look like? Is like Vedic or TM? Like what kind
TM.
of do? Yeah, TM.
What kind of TM? I'm on the board. I love it to give it to students. I gave away a mass mantra in my book, which I know is, everybody's mantra is secret in TM. The one I paid $2,500 for, no one knows. I paid for the motherfucker, and it's my secret, and I do use it.
Who taught you?
Bob Roth. I bet you gave a lot of niggas the same mantra, but it's okay.
No one will know.
Everybody's vibration is different. He can. I don't know how these monks or teachers, and I always call my guy a monk. Bob Roth, the guy I sent to Oprah, the guy I sent to everybody, like Russell Brand, all of them, that guy, he's like, he eats lunch, his last meal is at 2 o'clock. So his son's fires and digestive system. And I said, how'd that come to that? He said, well, it's in Ayurvedic science. But how did you come to do it? I came to do it. Like when you know what's right, you eventually start doing more and more of what's right until one day it becomes your routine. He lives like he's a monk. He hasn't had sex in 38 years. Are you fucking kidding me? And so he said, not interested. He laughs. He gets a little shy. I said, you gay? You want to fuck me? No, Russ, I'm not interested. Are you kidding me? It's the last thing I want to do. So you want to fuck a girl? Not really, no. Do you want to meet a girl? Not really, no, not interested. He's like a monk, for real.
Right.
Bob Roth, who runs the Maharishi Institute or David Lynch Foundation, is a beautiful, beautiful person. He taught Ellen to meditate. They call him Meditation Bob in these circles, like Katy Perry and all of them that he taught. Ellen, what's her name? Gwyneth Paltrow, all these like celebrities.
Right.
And I understood, intellectually, I understand how it is that I get a place at the table some places because I sell ideas too, the big picture. But I don't get that an enlightened person would buy into the big picture in the stupid way that I do. That's why I said I kind of think it's weird that I don't like one animal, but I like a lot. I care for a lot of animals. Because you should like one, your compassion should be small or big, and it should not matter. But I think being effective matters. So teaching Oprah or putting me at the head of the table to ask me if I want to host a party for His Holiness Dalai Lama. I said, my house. I said, yeah, I love hosting parties. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, please, great. I said, $2,500. No. $25,000 or something. No. $25,000. No. If it's birthday party for somebody else, it's honored to have it. I am too. $25,000 now. I didn't want to do it. I don't like, sometimes I feel unworthy. I got 3 proclamations Sunday. Sunday. I put these things on my wall. I have them all over my house, these awards. Other people do the work. I get the award. Peace Week. Erica Ford does Peace Week. And every year I host, through RushCard, I host the Mothers for the Deceased. Beautiful dinner in Queens. We served them vegan food. Amadou Diallo's mother, example, so many mothers who lost their children through violence. A greater number through police violence are in this group than I would have thought. Because I know it's a lot of kids killed themselves, but it was a greater number, and I realized, wow, there is a great percentage of these kids. Anyway, they've been very, very successful. The I Love My Life Camp program, and I support it, and I support that dinner. I got 3 proclamations. State councilman, the state senator, if I'm getting all these awards for, these people do all this work. All I do is support it, tweet about it, and raise them money and give them money. So I got my shit, and I don't devalue it. I still like the proclamations more than the gold records, but I realize it's just playing a role next to the person who's doing the work. God favors those who are doing the work, I'm sure, over those who are just, hi, I'm Bill Gates. They probably like him too. I gave $100 billion, whatever the fuck he gave. But the guy in the jungle, administering the drug, saving the animal, the person, the whatever, the guy who's struggling and giving, with purpose, he's favored. For sure. If there's if there's that kind of God.
Boots on the ground, hand-to-hand service.
You know what it is? Boots on the ground, some shit. Like Simone, something wrong with her.
Yeah.
She'd be out there holding dead animals and shit, laying inside plastic, blood all over, looking like a piece of meat, naked. When I walked out of it, I was like, really? I'm not doing that. But, I fund it. If she wants to go, get naked, cover herself in plastic in 100-degree weather and lay there in the street. Picture went around the world.
It goes back to all voices,
voices.
We need the happy vegan, and we do need the
but I'm going
vegan,
to meditation. I'm going to yoga.
Right.
I'm gonna go sit up in that theater with the expensive theater with the big seats and watch Leonardo while she's go to Crossroads. You know what I mean? While she's out there laying in blood. So laying in blood is probably better.
As someone who's walking this path of ahimsa, no harm, how has this
affected by shell-toe Adidas?
No.
For instance?
I like those.
I want to call them niggas. I think it's time they haven't given me any money. They just redid Pharrell's deal. His red shell toes, I wear them. They're red, but they're leather. And I want to see if it's time now. Can I? Yeah,
we need more cool vegan shoes. That's for sure.
Say that to Adidas. We're going to call Adidas right after we get up.
That should be something you should look into. And
I want to speak to whoever the boss is. I don't know.
How do you do that?
Predecessor that was the predecessor before the predecessor could remember, or whatever. The guy back could remember that the song saved their life, and these shell toes saved their company, and we can make these vegan. And I can brand them, and I can give them money to charity. And I want them to do that.
That's like a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. Costs them nothing. It's additional. I see too many old motherfuckers walking around shell toes. I was hanging out with Marlon, right now promoting, in the movie. Yeah, right. Marlon Wayans, Tyrese, the other Wayans who was having the baby with my niece, Vanessa. All of us were sitting around in white-on-white shell toes. I said, the fuck? I was like, I thought that I was like, old people still buy sneakers, and a lot of us buy shell toes. And young people be rocking shell toes. My daughter, Rita Ora, made some new shell toes. I want these niggas to give money. All right.
So this path of ahimsa, like, how has this, in the long term, like, impacted your relationships, and how has it influenced how you parent your kids?
I make my kids read my books and write reports on them. I don't do shit.
That.
No, my
Trapper.
My ex-wife makes my kids read my books and do reports on them. But she has alligator Birkenbeck. She gets everything I want to teach my kids. She teaches them what she wants to teach them. They're A students. They're great people. They want. One of them wants to run Goldman Sachs. And so that's why she's in a certain boarding school, because she wanted to go there when she was 11, because that's what her plan was. And she's inspired to do that. The other one, I sent her to boarding school with her because she had 200,000 Instagram followers, and she just turned the shit on. And her mother's famous, and she's in Beverly Hills. And you know what, you can go take your ass to that country too and go to boarding school. The mother doesn't want me to tell what country they're in. No one's going to go to that country and kidnap them. But I'm not going to say, but they're in a boarding school, a great boarding school, and it's good for if you want to be in Goldman Sachs, and it's good if you don't want to be a Beverly Hills brat. Anyway, but they're in a good boarding school. They have to wash their own clothes.
And are your daughters vegan or no?
No,
they're not.
No, they're not. But at least they're not eating American meat. Their mother is very conscious of what American poison they serve them, because their mother and their stepfather read my book. He reads my books. He's a good friend. He called me and says, you know what I just read? Beef gives you cancer. I said, you read my fucking book. He said, yeah, but no, there's a scientific study. I said, I was quoting scientific studies. It's like, people like, your friends don't believe you. Her husband, Tim, is my friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, all right, Russell, you and your happy vegan shit. He's probably a conservative, but never talked politics with me. And he's very sweet. He's like one of those guys, measured, because he runs Goldman Sachs Asia. He's brilliant, smart, good influence on my kids in many ways. But, we almost got in a fight with some Albanians when we were on vacation together. I was on his boat. He's about to blow up their car. He's not a joke. He's smart, strong German guy, straight Arnold Schwarzenegger type nigga. Great. My kids love him. He's loving. He's hardworking. He's family first. And but he's a different guy to me. So he read my book. It's a good book, Russell. I like the way he gave me notes, everything. But then when he read it and somewhere else, he tells me what I said. It's in my book. And it just reminded me how friends respond to you. I can't make none of my friends do shit.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Your close friends are like, fuck you.
No, they don't listen to me. Yeah.
Oprah, I get her to meditate.
Yeah.
Well, Kamara made my kids sit still with me for 2 years.
Right.
She'd walk in the room where we'd meditate every morning before school. And if she catches one of them with their eyes open, they're in trouble. If she catches one of them giggling and playing, she's in trouble. Sit your ass fucking down. And when they sit down, they would disappear. But if she walked in and they weren't, just do it again. Like, come on, just meditate, make them meditate.
Interesting.
She would make them do. And I always worry that they'll do what she does, which is not bad. It's just different. Instead of what she says. Well, that's bad. What she does, some things she does, it's just the way of the world. She has all the best bags, all the best stuff. She's a high-end fashion designer. She has a shop on Beverly. And she makes beautiful, expensive stuff. And my daughter's like, they want this scarf. So taking it by the scarf, I can't say no to nothing because I'm the dad who doesn't even live there. So fuck you. So they live in another country in boarding school. So when they come home and Daddy takes them shopping, I took them through Soho. I showed them all this beautiful shit. There was these handmade, beautiful silken cotton scarves with ohms all over them. It looked real fashiony, right? And they were really nice. You've probably seen these kind of things, but not this fabric. It was beautiful. They're like $40. They're really nice. I don't know if they were handmade. I mean, they were really sweet. I go to Chanel. I see a little bullshit scarf made out of fake, cheap-ass fabric. It's like $1,200. She said, Daddy, this is the one I want. I collect Chanel scarves. So I got her a Chanel scarf. I took her out in the street, and I bought her a piece of jewelry from one of the vendors in the street.
Right.
That she wears to this day. It's very beautiful. And that was handmade. And it cost nothing. And you could walk in, Hermes and buy a little piece of plastic shit to wrap around your wrist. This shit is $500. It's unbelievable what branding can do. And the way it affects people and how people buy into it and why they buy. I don't know why all. Sometimes the quality of shit is good. Kimura had on some sweater and I like touching it. We went to the movies. She had bought the theater out for Ming's birthday. Had all of her friends from school, ex-friends from school come. I went, but my girlfriend. It was fun. We watched that movie with the three girls. Not that good. Like the grown-up version of Project X. What was it called? Girls? You know, Simone.
Girlfriends?
No, they just now came out. Sister.
Oh, Sister. Yeah.
It's like a grown version of Project X.
I didn't see it. I heard about it.
It was pretty bad, but it was funny moments throughout the whole thing. It wasn't for old Project X people. It was crazy. But anyway, we went there, and she had on this like coat scarf. And I touched her. What the fuck is this? Like, who makes this? She said, you don't know. She said, it costs more in your car. Because Kimura is really rich. She said, it costs more in your car, asshole. You should know. And my girlfriend said, that's Chanel. So it was a particular kind of a coat that's like a scarf or whatever the fuck. I don't know if it cost more than my car, but it was nice enough that I touched it. Like, wow, that's nice. She said, get your paws off it.
Right.
So,
well,
anyway.
All right, yeah.
What do you think about that, the branding thing?
Well, I think it's incredibly powerful. On some level, people want to pay more. They want to be associated with a certain mark, a certain label, because that, says something about who they are and where they stand in the world. So psychologically, I think it's really complicated. Look, you're a master marketer. Like you understand this, how this works.
But I like my clothing. I moved them to Pennies. I'm telling you, moving your clothes from Pennies to Macy's, Macy's, there is a moment where there's a certain thing quality-wise, that you have to figure your way around, or don't make something. Or something you can't make. But that's those two price points are, not dramatically different, but there's a real difference. So in the shirt, the construction of a certain shirt at a certain moment, certain Argyle sweater can't have as many colors. It will cost. There's a moment. But the moment between, the $1,200 scarf and the $200 scarf doesn't exist that I'm aware of. I don't think it exists.
How do you...
But I want to service Pennies because I want to make the same quality for Macy's and put in Pennies.
Right.
Which for the most part is what I'm doing. And I'm going to ship 300 stores in next month.
Are all the garments that you make vegan? Like, how do you reconcile, being a vegan
I don't have any leather clothes.
In commerce at that level
I don't have any leather,
ultimately compromises?
I don't make anything that's non-vegan. I wear leather Adidas, I'm calling them now, like we said. I don't really make... Well, I wear leather coats because they're too blatant and obvious. I don't like them. And, people get mad because, my book, they said I ate fish off my friend's plate sometimes, or I cheated or whatever. Like a lot of animal rights people, like, fuck you, you're already vegan, leave me alone. I don't care what you think. And I did eat fish off my friend's plate. I don't know if I got mercury poisoning from a little bit I have to plate, but, I did. And somebody wrote a letter and said I wrote chicken and fish. No, I don't eat chicken off people's plate. And in the beginning of the year, I go complete, like more of a monk. Towards the end of the year, I start lightening up, having a glass of red wine, doing dumb shit. All the way to New Year's Eve, where I act up fucking full. But mostly, I live a very straight life. And, I won't probably eat fish off somebody's plate till August. Who knows when the fuck I'll do that. So I mostly don't do these things. But I like people, it's accessible. I'm real. We fall off the wagon. We get back on it, this stuff. I want people to be able to digest this message and not feel threatened by it.
Yeah, I think what happens is people find a reason to disconnect from it because they just find it to be so inaccessible or impossible. Like, there's no way I could live my life that monastically, so I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, so the absolute is not always easy. I do believe, though, like I'm always good at picking a day and say I'm not going to do this after that day. I'm not going to have one instead of two. I'm not going to have one cigarette instead of two. That's just stupid to me. Some people are good at weaning themselves off bad ideas. I mostly get rid of them.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the biggest misconception about you that you'd like to correct?
I don't think there's any misconceptions. I'm so transparent. People probably know I'm a piece of shit in ways that I am, and that I'm a servant in ways that I am, and whatever. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know.
You don't know.
Well, I look at black blogs and say that I hate my mother because I'm dating this blonde girl, right? She said she was 20, but she's actually 28. Said she was 40 years younger than me, but she's actually 30 years younger than me. Anyway, what was interesting is, I could date, I have dated anything. They say, only dates white women. Doesn't like himself. I've seen that lately. That was just today. That's why I noticed anyway, yesterday. But, I love everybody. I really like all kinds of people. I love diversity. I'm interested in, Minister Farrakhan is my second father, and I work to fight anti-Semitism for a living. I don't have a point. I'm not an angry liberal. Roger Ailes is my friend. I believe he believes himself. I don't believe a word he says. I try to tell him why I believe what I believe. I let people be. That's not a misconception. Everybody wants me to be on their side. If they know me and if I'm working for them in some capacity, they say, why don't I just be on their side? Why would I say I cheat when I'm vegan? Why would I say, people get disappointed that, they said, why would you go on Fox News? I said, well, have an argument with O'Reilly. We don't even yell, he and I, when you're feeding them. They're going to be okay already. They're already a big show. They have more ratings than everybody. Can we give them and say it in a way people can digest it? Can we say things in a way that other sides... The idea of having imams and rabbis talk was a horrible idea at one time. We're doing it in 50 countries. Having imams in synagogues and rabbis in mosques. I feel like that's the thing. Mm-hmm. People think that I should be one way or another, and I don't know how to be any of those ways.
I think it's really interesting that you're able to have these friendships with people that are on, a very different side of the fence, from Roger Ailes and this kind of famous relationship that you have with Donald Trump and that kind of... the viral moment of writing the letter.
I've said a lot of shit. So,
everybody wanted me to ask you if you've talked to him since the letter.
I have not spoken to him.
You haven't? Uh-huh.
And I don't know if he's going to call me until he wins the nomination. No, until he wins the presidency. He said I'm going to get 100% of the black vote. That's the best line I've ever heard. What are you talking about? The blacks, they love me.
Yeah.
He said that.
It's interesting. But I mean, that aside, the fact that you can be friends with people that share a very different point of view, I think is a really kind of powerful thing. And I think it's unusual. People have difficulty understanding how that could possibly be.
They say I'm an asshole for having had a friendship. To me and Reverend Jackson, there's a story in the New York Times about our opinions about his statements, and both of them said that's a different Trump than we know. We both said things that were not so bad about him, attacked his words, but not him. And he said we were both sellouts. Like if I had been a civil rights activist that had been paid.
Who said that?
It was a big story on an important black blog. I say important, like one of the ones where it's not a blog like gossip. It was like a news blog, and it was this editorial written about how it's a perfect example of what sellouts look like and sound like, and it come from that New York Times article. But I find it's okay. Because a Republican governor was the one the most important thing I've ever done is change the Rockefeller drug laws. Thousands of people came home from jail. It was a Republican governor who signed the bill and gave me the pen because I was friendly with Governor Pataki. And that helped to build a bridge. And I negotiated between Senator Bruno and Shelley Silver the deal. I got in trouble with a lobbyist too. It cost me a lot of money, but that's another subject. But it's okay to get along with people you disagree with. In fact, it's critical that we all try to put ourselves in other people's shoes, because I believe that we all have the same hopes, desires. We're all inspired by the same kinds of things. We want to love and be loved. And I know that there are some small differences that really exist in us. And that's from socialization or whatever. And we have to get over those and find the sameness and work on, operating from that space on. And that's an important kind of that's the premise to operate from. I think it's easy. Right. Easier. Life is easier if you decide to love people rather than judge them.
It comes from empathy. Like once you develop a capacity or a reservoir for empathy, you're able to kind of see somebody else's point of view. Even if you don't share it, you can understand it in a certain way that I think allows you to build a bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the book's The Happy Vegan. It's an easy way out for those who think it's difficult to become vegan. A very easy way out. It also is a little bit about your personal health, a lot about your personal health and how the American factory farming industry is poisoning you. The book could be called The Happy Vegan or The Poisoning of America. There is no one protecting you. The FDA is not protecting you. No one is. And they're giving you food that's causing cancer and heart disease and diabetes, and there's just a lot of crap that's being fed to us. It's not, and so we have to make choices ourselves to save our families. If we're adults, we want to keep eating the same barbecue beef. That if you eat that as a 30 of protein, it's 20 cigarettes a day. So much carcinogens you're ingesting. If you want to have 20 cigarettes a day, go right ahead. Shoot yourself in the head if you like. Don't do it to your kids. Don't share. Don't say, I had a hot dog, my kid can have a hot dog, because your hot dog is different from your kid's hot dog. So it talks about the compassion issue, which is, I think, a critical one, a karmic disaster. And it talks about this fact that if we keep it up, there won't be a inhabitable planet for human beings very soon. So that threat is looming. Your cancer is a threat that's looming. And your karma is being destroyed. So let's try to move away from that towards a plant-based diet and become better servants of God if we're God-fearing, better servants of our community if we love our community, if we feel connected. Let's make that a better mantra. So the book's available. That's it.
I love it, man. Yeah, 1 out of every 3 Americans will die of heart disease. By 2030, 50% of Americans will be diabetic or pre-diabetic. 70% of Americans are obese or overweight. Meanwhile, we're destroying the planet at an unfathomable rate. The amount of water, land, resources required to run our current food system and animal agriculture is reprehensible. It's polluting our oceans at an alarming rate. It's causing species extinction. It's raping the rainforests. And the karmic debt that we're accumulating by this massive slaughter is unjustifiable on every level. And with respect to the healthcare statistics, I imagine that they increase precipitously when you look at the African American population and as you slide down the socio-economic scale. We're at a crisis point. I think we're also at a very interesting and exciting moment where openness to the vegan movement, to the vegan lifestyle, to trying to live our life in a more sustainable, sort of, karmically aligned way has never been, more well received or in vogue. And I, like yourself, share a certain level of optimism for that. And I appreciate your level of advocacy and activism in this arena, because you could be doing anything with your free time, and you're making this choice to do this, which I think speaks to you and your character. And I think it's awesome to see where this is all going to be heading.
That's a great wrap up. I mean, all that stuff's in the book, and all that obvious stuff that you and I discussed, and the way you repeated it and wrapped it up is brilliant, because it's kind of, you can't argue with that. The argument that's built around, and you said one interesting thing I want to add to. You said that it's becoming in vogue. Books like this are becoming more accessible, likely be a Times bestseller. All other ones have. It's likely to be visible in places like Dr. Oz took us on, and everybody's taking us on. So we're on these shows, we're getting this voice out, but we absolutely have to do it. So I think that's why it's in vogue. Like, you have to do it. We're going to fucking die.
You're going to be plant-based whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
If this planet exists long enough, because we can't continue to feed the planet the way that we're doing it. It just doesn't work any other way. It
doesn't work. So, thank you so much for having me on your blog, man. I love talking to like-minded people. You're not angry that I tell you this. I share with you information, and you spit it back at me, even more concise. So it's really, really important to spread the word and do it the way that they can digest it, because Simone's going to kick him in the ass. So we'll say it nicely, and Simone, you can kick him in the ass, and that's what. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Thanks. Peace. Great to talk to you, Russell. Peace.
That was good.
Lance. All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, definitely unique. Tyler, what did you think?
Yeah, it was a great, free-forming, kind of cool, eclectic conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit different, a little less straightforward than my typical conversations, but he's so charismatic. He has such a big personality, and I thought it was really engaging. I think there's some good takeaways there. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to make a point of checking out the show notes on the episode page for this week. Lots of links to take your edification and your infotainment beyond the earbuds. And I've got Tyler Pyatt here in the podcast studio. Say hi, Ty.
Hi.
So Tyler, many of you know, has been my producer. He's my son, my stepson. And I think from day one, pretty much, Tyler has been boots on the ground, the guy who assembles the podcast week in, week out. The theme music that you hear was performed by Tyler and Harrison, right? I think Harrison actually wrote the theme music.
Yeah, Harry did like the little ditty, and then I just did some chords on top of it. We did it in the warehouse,
right?
Quiet on like the laptop.
Right, I know that. Well, the funny thing about the theme music is that when we first started the podcast, episode 1, I went to you guys and I was like, I need some theme music. Can you guys like mock something up? It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be great. I just need something to get going, and we can replace it later. And you guys did it in like an hour, and that's still the theme music. And the idea was that I was going to swap it out with something a little more, you spend a little more time and make something a little more, I don't know, whatever. And it just kind of stuck. And to this day, it's still the theme music.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I remember like you've asked me a bunch of times to like, see if I, was inspired to like do more. And
nothing ever happened.
Well, actually, I've had a couple ideas, but funny enough, like they weren't any more like energetic. And one I just liked. So I wrote a song around it and just.
Oh, it became a song?
Took it for myself, yeah.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm still waiting, for the new theme music. So there's a door wide open for that when you guys can get it together.
Once I record that song, I'll give it to you.
All right, cool. So the reason that Tyler is joining me for the outro to this episode is for 2 different reasons. The first reason is that I just wanted to thank him formally and on air for all the hard work that he's done. Tyler is going to be moving on, and we're going to get into that in a second. But thank you, Tyler. I know that you've been very devoted and dedicated to making sure that this show could be the best that it could be every week. Tyler's the guy that puts the whole thing together. So he's going to be moving on to greener pastures. And before he departs, I just wanted to give him a shout out on air and say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It means a lot.
Yeah, it's been a family affair from day one. It's going to feel weird to have somebody else working on it, and I don't know who that person is going to be yet. I should probably look into that. I'm probably going to have to edit these myself for a little while until we find somebody to step in and take over that responsibility. But you've done a great job, and you're a big part of this show and the success that it's garnered, and it's been great working with you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
So Tyler is moving on because first and foremost, Tyler is a musician. He is in a band. They just named the band. It's called Analemma, A-N-A, and then new word Lemma, L-E-I-M-M-A. And that band is comprised of Tyler, who writes songs and performs basically every instrument, mainly a guitar player, but you play every instrument. And Trapper, who's sitting over in the corner over there, who plays drums. Say hey, Trapper. How's it going? Trapper was with me for the Russell episode. What did you think of Russell?
He's very charismatic, but he's going to talk about what he wants to talk about.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of.
like, it's kind of the thing where he's just talking, and you kind of have to adjust around him.
Right. And that's the thing, I think, with really charismatic, successful people like that. But it was fun, right? It was fun to meet him. He was super cool. We hung out and chatted for quite a long time after the podcast, and he couldn't have been more engaging, and it was a good time. But anyway, Trapper's the drummer in the band, and Harrison Mathis, who's my nephew, is also in the band, as well as Dylan Brosnan.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are getting ready to record their first album. They've outfitted our garage and transformed it into a professional recording studio, and they're going to be recording on 24-track analog, right? So you have this giant console in the garage that looks like a relic from like Cape Canaveral in the 1960s, you know, with the reel-to-reel tapes and the whole thing. It's quite a production. They've been trying to get this whole thing configured and ready for quite some time, and now the day has arrived. So they're going into the studio to do that, and that's going to obviously monopolize all of Tyler's time. These guys are extremely talented. The music is really unique and quite beautiful. I think it's unlike anything you've ever heard. And we're going to take the show out today with a demo of one of their songs. It's called Be Still. I think Tyler would want me to say that it is indeed a demo. This was not recorded in analog, right?
No, this is like... I mean, it was digital. It still sounds good, but yeah, I mean, it's not the final.
Yeah, not the
deal,
final.
but good enough where we feel, you know, comfortable putting it out and sharing. And yeah, a good reason for like people to sort of start getting involved, other than like we are a band, which doesn't really cover anything. Like there's no, so we kind of are reviving our pathetic Facebook page and trying to get.
I know you just put you're very social media resistant, you know, so you're not exactly engaged online, but now the day has kind of arrived where you kind of have to step into that world a little bit. So they put up a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Analemma.
Music,
Analemma Music, ANALEIMMA Music. So check that out. And how would you describe the band and your music?
I would say it is like, sort of like a really candid, kind of left of field singer-songwriter chorus. So like Harry and I just write with an acoustic guitar to start most times, and then kind of like building around sort of like a Nick Drakey, Neil Youngy type of core, like a lot of atmospheric and ambient touches that are really like, I don't know, we want it to be like forward-thinking and very spatial, so that you kind of, I don't know, get like a vibe, and there's like a setting for the song that's unique and interesting and transporting.
Right. Yeah, it has a Nick Drake, Bob Dylan vibe, but also very influenced by bands like Radiohead and Grizzly Bear. And quite interestingly, you have Chris from Grizzly Bear, who's kind of been mentoring you guys, and you're going to start. Another reason why you're stopping with the podcast is you're going to start working with him on production stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be like, his like assistant a few days a week. So
right, which is cool.
Start tomorrow morning.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
so we're gonna take the show out with Be Still. Anything you want to say about this particular song and what it's all about?
Let me think. I mean, yeah, this has been an interesting song. It's gone through like a lot of changes. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, this one definitely has kind of more of like a Neil Young thing going on, but, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of about connecting and trying to connect with people and having your own kind of inner dialogue about it. It's very impressionistic, so I think people can get whatever they want out of it. And I think just in terms of the emotion, yeah, I mean, it's very like melancholic. I think that's sort of a thread that runs through everything I do artistically. And yeah, I mean, hopefully it's like, it's kind of has a bit of a calm thing to it, but also, you know, still has some edges that we left on it. So, yeah, I mean, we really hope you like it. I want to give credit to obviously my bandmates, and also Jimmy Horry, who was a guy that we worked with for a long time, who contributed a lot to this song. So, hey, Jimmy.
Yeah. It's a really beautiful song, and we're going to play it in a second. But before we do that, a couple quick announcements. I've got a new video up on the YouTube page. It's called Vegan on $25. It's short. It's fun. Trapper, who's here, helped me out with it, and he appears on screen too. We had a lot of fun making that video. You can check that out on my YouTube page, just youtube.com/Rich Roll. Add me on Snapchat. I am Rich Roll. I-A-M Rich Roll. I'm doing daily little videos there and have a lot of fun with that. Check out Julie's new podcast, Divine Throughline, her spiritual musings on the divine through line in life, sharing her experience, and very musically based. And you just guessed it on your mom's podcast too, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. If you like the first song, I want to try something different. There's an acoustic performance I did of another song on our Facebook and on her Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah. Or just you can hear it performed on her podcast.
Yeah, performed. Yeah.
So check that out. As far as the calendar goes, I'm going to be speaking at Vassar College on February 19th. I'm going to be speaking at NYU. They're doing a vegan athletes event on March 22nd. I don't know if either of those are open to the public. I'll keep you posted when I find out more about that. But I will be in Austin on April 23rd and 24th, speaking at the Austin Health Hoopla. So I know that's open to the public. For more information, links, etc., go to richroll.com, click on appearances, and you can find out more. Of course, for all your plant-powered and RRP swag and merch, go to richroll.com. We got all kinds of cool stuff there. Keep sending in your questions for future Q&A podcast to info@richroll.com. And thanks so much, you guys, to everybody out there who has supported the show by telling your friends, sharing it on social media. We love you guys. Of course, thank you to everybody who has been using the Amazon banner ad at richroll.com for all your Amazon purchases. And if you're interested in listening to the entire RRP catalog beyond the most 50 recent episodes that you can find on iTunes, check out our free mobile app for your iOS devices. You can find that in the App Store or on iTunes. So that's it. Thanks so much, Tyler. I love you. I appreciate all the hard work that you've put into the show, and I wish you luck in this venture. I think it's going to be really successful, and it's going to be really exciting to see how this plays out. And it's a pleasure and an honor for me to introduce this song and your band to my audience.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to all the listeners and everyone. It's been amazing, and I won't be going too far, I'm sure.
All right, so Be Still by Anna Lemma, written by Tyler. Did you write this with Harrison, or did you write this on your own?
I kind of started it, but really we all shaped it into what it is, so I think it's a group effort for sure.
And your lead vocals.
Lead vocals
on that. All right. Enjoy, you guys. Peace. Plants. See you soon.
Be still. Cross